Hi, welcome to another video on the Targeted Individual Program. Today, we want to talk about a few things that is happening, not just with my targeting, but what has transpired recently with the mass shooting in Las Vegas. But before I go on and talk about that, just want to give a recap of what they've been doing to me. So, the past week, been getting heavy remote neuromonitoring, getting a lot of headaches. Also, it affected the nerve in my shoulder to where I was in excruciating pain because I couldn't lift my left arm. I couldn't lift it straight up like this, and I still can't. This is about as far as I can raise it because I'm in a lot of pain. So again, over the weekend, heavy targeting. My daughter and son had swimming on Sundays at the high school here in Brooklyn, Erasmus High School. They have swimming lessons, and I've done a video of when I'm there how the people that attended and people that work who give the swimming lessons all participate in the psychological harassment, right? Psychological targeting. So you can look at two videos that I did, one in HD, the other one in HD but 720p, that gives you an explanation of what it was that they were doing. So yesterday, today's Monday, September 2nd. So yesterday, as I was there at my daughter's and son's swim classes, they started with the targeting again. And so this time, they decided that they were going to use the kid's mother to target me, okay? So me and the kids got to their lesson, on time. My son went first. First of all, I checked both of them in at the front desk, and everything was fine. My son had his lessons first, and 40 minutes into his lessons, his mother came, and she was talking to a friend of hers that she saw there who brought her daughter there. And so, I'm not paying anything in the mind. I'm watching my son, being taught how to swim. And, again, the people there participated in the psychological harassment. And so after about 10 minutes of their mother talking to her friend, she came over and she started doing all these hand signals. Like all of a sudden, all these hand movements, grabbing her bag, going overboard. Right? And when I start to see that, I'm like, okay, they're using her now to try to send me some sort of subliminal message, right? So anyway, I was like, whatever. And, my daughter class began, and then that was over, and we left. Now, as we exit out of the swimming pool area, we went through the doors. She says to me, you didn't register the kids. I'm like, what do you mean? I said, I registered the kids. Obviously, I did because Ethan was in his swim class. So then she goes, well, you didn't register Alyssa. I'm like, what are you saying? I said, I registered both of them. Well, no, you didn't. And you didn't register them last week either. Now, we were both there last week, and both the kids had the swimming lessons. So obviously, I registered them. But she's like, well, when I went to the front desk to register them, they didn't have a check mark next to the name. I said, well, that's not my problem. I say, because obviously they're in the swim class, so obviously I checked them in because they know that they're there, right? Or else they wouldn't allow them in the swim class. So again, they want to start an argument between me and her, and what if it is that they're doing to her or they're telling her, is a reason, because coercive persuasion programming, it leads victims to isolation, loss of income, loss of support, loss of basically everything, and that's what they're trying to do, you know. They're constantly sending me subliminal message about losing my disability. Since they can't do that, then it's like we're going to break up your family, right? Or they're going to break up your boyfriend or girlfriend, right? If they can't do that, then it's just the physical threat of being incarcerated, of being institutionalized, So there's always this constant degrading theme that they do. Okay, and it's sad that they use in her, my kid's mother, to target me like this, right? Because, raising two kids by herself, she can't do it. She cannot do it, okay? It's too much for her. And to think that knowing that she knows this, and I'm there to help, to take up the slack, right? To take up most of the slack when it comes to raising our kids. And she still participated in this stuff. It kind of like boggles my mind. It really does. So anyway, so they started with her, she started an argument with me, what have you, trying to get me upset and stuff like that. And then, she turns around and said to me that my life is full of nonsense. And I'm like, what do you, I said, you know what? No, your life is full of nonsense. Like, what the hell is that? But again, that's how they use people to try to diminish, degrade, devalue you as a human being if you're a targeted individual. And that's what they've been doing. And so now all of a sudden she starts with the hands behind the back palm thing, like with the palm, they'll place their hands behind the back with their palm facing towards you, right? And, I'm like, listen, that don't mean nothing to me. Whatever it is you think you condition me to believe, that doesn't mean anything to me at all right? So, but when you see it being repeatedly, you got to recognize that is a form of conditioning. They have conditioned you to that action. So that's like a trigger, right? So that is a trigger. So anyway, so she's like really loud arguing with me in public. And, listen, if it's something that I don't like, is arguing in public. And the fact that they know this and they continue to push her to do this with me, is basically trying to get me upset so I can be like, you know what, screw you, F it, I'm done. Because I've been through this many a times. And this is what they do. Because that's the reaction that they think that they're going to get. Okay, because they have gotten it in the past when I didn't know. Okay, but I know now. So anyway, so after we came out from the swim lesson, I went home because my oldest son was home, and usually if the kids didn't have swimming lesson, they'll stay with me until it's time for me to take my oldest son home. Then I'll drop them off and take my oldest son home. So I went home, stayed for a few hours, like 2 hours, and we left to take my son home. Then on the way taking home, they started with the fire trucks, using the fire trucks again. All right, and so they haven't really done that in a while. Not to say that they've completely stopped, because I know that they wouldn't. They're just waiting for the perfect opportunity so that they can start with the noise campaign again. And yesterday, Sunday, was, I guess, their opportunity to engage in that against me. And so, going, these fire trucks, coming back, fire trucks, and, having people, basically try to, drive in front of me, with the license plate with the number 32 in it. And, and again, that's another trigger that I've been conditioned to. So there's some sort of association with that number. Don't know. What I come to realize with that number 32 is that that's the number for one of the biggest black Christian church here in Brooklyn, New York. That's their building number. And so I always knew that, those in the religious community participate in the psychological harassment, because those in religion are probably the biggest factor when it comes to the government recruiting or law enforcement recruiting people to participate and become member of their organization, which is a cult, and it's not official. You will never see it on paper, but they will go to the community, go to the churches, and spread whatever lies and tell them, this is, being done for good and stuff like that, and always want to use securities, keep the neighborhood safe. No, I'm not a terrorist or a criminal. Okay, so, but it's an excuse that they want to use to legitimize what it is that they're doing. Okay, and so with the government, in terms of the security agencies doing experimentation on human beings, non-consensual experimentation, and microchipping, illegal microchipping, is that they have to villainize the victims of their experiments. They have to, okay, because without making a person look like a bad guy, a bad person, security risk, it'd be very hard for people to participate in this. So how do they do that? They set the victims up, they manipulate them, they manipulate the people around them, to get them to maybe commit a crime or something, or to try to blackmail them into silence. And the use of the psychological warfare is to discredit and silence them. And so people have to understand this, so no matter what you see or what you hear about TI, you can never 100% believe it with your eyes or your ears, because a lot of this stuff is manufactured. Okay, a lot of stuff is manufactured by the police, law enforcement, the CIA, the DOD, Department of Defense, or whichever other organization that do this. And so it's interesting, going through this, seeing the behavior of people, including those close to you, family members, who've all been duped into participating in this. And some of this is mind control, okay? Some of this is mind control using microwave, because there are times when I'm in the house with the kids and we're being microwave, and I know it. I know it because of the synchronization, the things that my children do to me, and the reason why they'll use your own kids against you is because you're not gonna put up a defense, against them, right? And so, especially being that what's going on, okay. So that's one of the things. So now let's get back to the number that the number 32 that they use in my targeting, right? So when I see the number 32, I'm thinking that this is this church that is heavily participating, this church and its members that are heavily participating in targeting me, And so yesterday, actually this morning when I woke up, turned on the news and saw this shooting in Las Vegas, and I'm like, okay, something just didn't seem to add up. And then I heard that the gunman went to the 32nd floor to commit this mass killing. And the fact that I think he killed himself before the police can do anything to him or what have you. And then I was listening to an interview with his brother who lives in Florida, and his brother said that there was nothing to indicate that he had all these weapons. There's nothing to indicate that he had hate for anybody or anything like that. And then I think back to the Colorado shooting, right, with the guy in Colorado who walked into the movie theater and started killing people. And there was nothing in this guy history to say this guy had mental illness. And then the way the police arrested him too, this guy, I think he went into the parking lot and waited for the police to arrive. I mean, who does that, right? So there is mind control at work here, and people may not want to believe this stuff, but the powers that be, they have agendas, and we all are expendable, okay? Expendable. We all are expendable, okay? They will murder, kill, harm, American citizens and those living in this country and abroad to, to be able to set their agenda, to achieve their agenda, whatever it is. And so people got to look beyond the surface of this. You have to look beyond the surface of this, okay? Not just what the media is telling you, not just what law enforcement is telling you, because law enforcement is a part of this program, this brainwashing, mind control program. I'm not saying every single person in law enforcement is a part of it, but those higher ups, even those in the lower ranks, they are a part of it. Okay, they are definitely a part of it. I mean, even when I was saying to myself, let me try and contact this guy's brother in Florida. So I was on Facebook and I was typing in his name, and they started with the sirens, right? Because they were monitoring my online activity. And every time I click on a video with his brother in the interview, there was the police sirens. You see, because they don't want me to get in contact with this guy's brother, because I would let him know that your brother was brainwashed, your brother was conditioned to do this. Okay, this is something that these people, the government, did to him. Though I may not be able to prove it concrete 100%, but if you look at the history of the United States government, and I've said this plenty of times, okay, and somehow it just seems to like go over people's head. But the government have been guilty of these sort of things in the past, brainwashing people, doing experiments on people. So I don't see how people today think it's impossible, or or to call a person crazy or delusional because they said that the government is experimenting on me. Now I can understand some people are truly crazy, and they will say this stuff. But if you look at other people who's discussing the stuff, who's trying to get evidence and proof that this is happening, there's a difference. When the person is crazy, the person really don't communicate and don't do the sort of research and finding factual things to back up their story. At least not in the sense that, when you start talking about directed energy weapons, and how it's being used, what type of directed energy weapons, the names of some of these directed energy weapons, and can relate it, to what they're going through, And so, I think people have to look at the difference when it comes to TIs, real TIs, and when it comes to people who do have serious mental illness. And so that is a problem that I think people are going to have to be able to be open-minded and conscious of the things that had went on and continues to go on, non-consensual human experimentation, illegal microchipping, just look up remote neural monitoring. Okay, this is what's being done to me and other TIs. Waking up in the morning, once you become conscious, they know it because of the microchip. So immediately they start the noise campaign, hitting you with the sirens. Okay, and so that's how you know. I was telling this story to a friend of mine, and I said early on in my targeting, when I was working, I was at a job, and I had a date with a friend who was going to go out to dinner. So there was a particular song that I was singing, and I wasn't singing it out loud. I was just singing it in my mind. So I met up with my friend, and we went to dinner. As we finished dinner, I paid, and then we left the restaurant. There was a police car that was driving down the street. Now, this was a two-way street. Now, this police car made a U-turn. The cop stopped the car. There was two cops in the car. The one that was driving, so he stops the car, and the one on the passenger side rolls out his window, and he started singing out loud this exact same song that I was singing at my job. Remember, I wasn't singing it out loud. So let's say that they had a listening device, external listening device on my phone that they were listening to hear me sing the song. And at that point, my friend, who was a female, she looked at me and she looked like she almost had tears in her eyes. And after that, it just made the night completely uncomfortable. And I went my way and she went her way. And I think that was probably the last time I spoke to her. Okay, because it was like I felt like she knew what was going to happen and what was happening. And so, that was it. And they used people like that. So when that was done to me, I started, doing research on, mind reading and stuff like that, and then I come up upon, remote neural monitoring, microchip and stuff like that. Because people are always doing this to me. They're taking their thumb and they do this to me, touching their nose, or they'll tap on their nose, and that's part of what is called neurolinguistic programming, trying to condition you with a phobia, to say that you have a microchip in your nose. I don't have a microchip in my nose. I have a microchip in my brain, which they use for remote neural monitoring. Okay, and when people want to ask, well, they will have to have an operation. No, they don't. Remember, your nasal passage is a direct passageway to the brain. Okay? There is no bone that blocks your nasal passage, from your brain. They can take a large needle, push it up your nasal passage, and it can reach your brain. That is how they microchip people. They're not having surgery and implanting the chip into your brain, cutting open your skull, because they would leave evidence of that. People would see that you have an operation. This is being done through, these chips are being inserted through needles, very long needles that can be inserted in the nasal passage with direct access to the brain. And they're long enough to reach the area in which they want to implant the chip in. Okay? So, they're always doing that, So, again, it's like indicating that, I have a microchip. I'm like, I already know that, But it's a theme they use over and over, because, when people realize that, hey, I've been microchipped, some people will lose their mind, I mean, as with anybody, I almost did, until I started learning about this stuff, learn about the psychological program, why they use the psychological program, and it is to silence and discredit those who they commit experiments on, and they want to keep it a secret. And if they can keep it a secret, if the person is willing to try and expose it, they would already have dirt on that individual, because they've already set that individual up, and so now they will use that to get those in the community to participate and to not feel any sort of empathy towards that individual or those individuals. That's how the game works. That's how they play the game, And we as TIs, we on the, we on the end of the spectrum where, because we don't know. We've all been manipulated, right? We've all been manipulated, so we had no clue. And now we're just in survival mode, and they're doing everything they can to destroy our lives because we just refuse to be silent about being experimented on. Okay? And I think, it's kind of ridiculous to try to tell TIs to be silent. I'm definitely not going to be silent. You can threaten my kids, you can threaten me, you can do whatever you want to do to me. I'm not going to be silent. It's simple as that. And then they try to use this they try to tell you, you're under investigation, right, with the use of the police and stuff like that, but what that amounts to is legal abuse. It's legal abuse, because they never really bring you to court. They never really come and arrest you for any crime, but they use the threat of it and the threat of being constant under investigation, right, that they continue to engage in this kind of harassment. Okay? And that's what all it is. It is using the law to legally abuse a person. Okay? And this is part of what they're doing, along with many other things. Okay? And so this site, it's I can't talk enough about this site, as well as fatnet.org, which is another site that gives you an insight and the mindset of people who engage in cult activities. So it gives you a psychological insight into the minds of these people, of your perps, who are people who are harassing you psychologically. And so, when you come on this website, it talk about, the catch-22, and where is it here? Torture and false confession, pretense, the use of investigations to target you, right? To condition you, to use the law to legally abuse you, psychologically as well as physically. This is their tactics. This is their way of trying to silence you or to get rid of you. And we have to understand this as TIs. We have to fight back. We have to let them know that that they cannot silence us, no matter what they do, no matter what they say, no matter what they're telling those in our community, that they will never be able to silence us. We have to speak up. That's the way to fight back. We have to expose them. That's the way we're going to be able to say, this has happened to me. When it happens to another person, that other person will listen to our story or read our story, and will learn from it, and will understand that this is what these people are trying to do to them, him or her, and they can take preventative measures, to minimize a lot of the damage that they've done to a lot of us. Okay, so I'm gonna end this video right here, and I'll be doing another video shortly. If the harassment continue at the level that they have been engaging in, I would definitely be doing a video shortly. I'm quite sure of that. Okay, have a good day.